Every 12 months, somewhere in the world, a city the size of Houston disappears from India. Not overnight, not dramatically, just quietly, one boarding pass at a time. Welcome to the story of 35 million people, the largest diaspora in human history. Bigger than Mexico's, bigger than Syria's entire displaced population, larger than the population of most countries on Earth. But this isn't just about numbers. This is the story of how a former British colony became the talent engine of the global economy, running 1/3 of Silicon Valley, leading more than 10% of Fortune 500 companies, and sending home over $120 billion every year, a sum greater than the GDP of entire nations. From the Gulf states, where Indian workers outnumber locals, to Brampton, Canada, a suburb transformed so rapidly that locals now controversially call it Bramladesh. From Sundar Pichai at Google and Satya Nadella at Microsoft, to construction workers in Dubai, wiring half their salaries back to villages in Kerala. This is the map of modern India. Not the India you see, the India that left. Tonight, on the Human Map, we trace the migration routes that turned brain drain into global leverage. We go inside the trust networks moving billions beyond the reach of banks. We explore why one civilization exports more CEOs than any nation on Earth. And we confront the question echoing from Toronto to London: when tens of millions leave, who stays behind? Subscribe now, because understanding India no longer means looking within its borders. It means following its people across the world. This is the Human Map. Let's reveal what's been hiding in plain sight. To understand why over 35 million people of Indian origin now live outside India, you have to understand one thing. This wasn't a single migration. It was 3 distinct waves, each powered by different forces, different classes, and different dreams. The first wave did not begin with opportunity. It began with necessity. After Britain abolished slavery in 1833, the empire faced a labor crisis. Plantations still needed workers. Railways still needed builders. So the British engineered a replacement, the indenture system, shipping more than 1.5 million Indians across the colonial world between the 1830s and early 1900s. They were sent to Fiji, Mauritius, Trinidad, Guyana, and South Africa, places where their descendants still shape national identity today. What started as temporary contracts became permanent settlements. These laborers didn't just work foreign soil, they rooted themselves in it, laying the earliest foundations of the global Indian diaspora. The second wave looked very different. By 1965, the United States rewrote its immigration laws to attract highly skilled talent. India, freshly independent and heavily invested in technical education, suddenly became a reservoir of engineers, doctors, and scientists fluent in English. For many graduates, the decision was stark: remain in a slow-moving economy burdened by bureaucracy, or board a flight toward laboratories, hospitals, and tech firms hungry for expertise. They chose America, Britain, Canada. By the late 1990s, Indian-born founders were launching a growing share of Silicon Valley startups. Soon, Indian executives would rise to lead some of the most influential corporations on Earth. The pattern became impossible to ignore. India trained the talent. The world deployed it. Then came the third wave, larger, faster, and more economically diverse. From the 1990s onward, globalization unlocked mobility at scale. Students chased foreign degrees that doubled as immigration pathways. IT professionals filled visa pipelines. Nurses moved into Western healthcare systems. Construction workers powered the skylines of the Gulf. The motivations were rarely ideological. They were mathematical. A salary could multiply 5-fold overnight. Stability became portable. Meanwhile, India was producing millions of young workers each year, far more than its domestic economy could absorb. Migration became less of an exception and more of a strategy. Today, Indians form one of the largest migrant populations on every major continent. In the UAE, they power entire sectors. In North America, they dominate skilled migration flows. In global tech hubs, their presence is structural. These three waves didn't just move people. They redistributed ambition, capital, and influence across the planet. Because when millions leave, they don't simply depart. They replicate. And wherever they land, a new version of India quietly begins to rise. If you mapped Indian migration, it wouldn't look random. It would look engineered. A global architecture built on corridors of opportunity rather than borders. Start with the Gulf. Nearly half of the world's Indian-born population lives across the Gulf Cooperation Council states, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain. But this is not migration in the traditional sense. It is economic rotation. Indians do not move to Dubai to become Emirati. They move to extract wealth and redirect it home. Picture a worker from Bihar stepping into the desert heat for the first time. 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts, shared housing with 10 other men. No citizenship, no long-term security. Just a contract and a calculation. Endure now, transform the family later. And it works. India receives more remittances than any nation on earth, roughly $120 billion a year. Entire villages are financed by salaries earned thousands of miles away. Weddings, schools, homes, even local businesses are funded by Gulf money. The region became something unprecedented, an external economic engine powering internal mobility. Now shift west. In North America, the story changes from labor to leadership. Over 5 million people of Indian origin live in the United States alone, deeply embedded in the country's most strategic industries. Walk through Silicon Valley and you begin to see a pattern. Engineers who became founders, founders who became executives, executives who now run some of the most influential companies on the planet. This wasn't accidental. It was the outcome of a cultural pipeline shaped by extreme academic competition and relentless upward mobility. By the time many Indian professionals arrive in American boardrooms, they have already survived some of the most competitive educational filters in the world. Canada offers an even more visible transformation. Suburbs like Brampton have evolved at extraordinary speed, becoming dense cultural and economic hubs where migration feeds further migration. Indians are now the country's largest immigrant group, reshaping housing markets, labor sectors, and increasingly, political life. But rapid demographic change always produces tension. As neighborhoods transform, a quiet national conversation emerges. How fast is too fast? Then there is Britain, one of the diaspora's longest-standing anchors. Nearly 2 million people of Indian origin live in the UK, deeply woven into medicine, finance, academia, and government. This is no longer a migrant workforce. It is an institutional presence. When a country once ruled India elects a prime minister of Indian descent, history folds in on itself. Across these regions, the pattern becomes unmistakable. In the Gulf, Indians power economies without settling. In North America, they scale corporate hierarchies. In Britain, they help run the state itself. This is no longer a diaspora. It is a distributed civilization, one that stretches across time zones, currencies, and continents. Because when migration reaches this scale, people don't just relocate. They reorganized the world around them. What makes the Indian diaspora different from almost every other migration story is this: they never truly leave. While many immigrant communities gradually detach from their homelands, Indians maintain a financial lifeline so powerful it quietly reshapes the global economy. In 2024 alone, India received nearly $120 billion in remittances, more than any country on earth. That is roughly 3.5% of the nation's GDP, a sum larger than the entire economies of some European states. But this money doesn't flow into government vaults. It moves directly into homes, hospital bills, school fees, weddings, land purchases, and small businesses. A software engineer in California pays for his parents' healthcare in Pune. A nurse in London funds a cousin's education in Kerala. A laborer in Dubai sends most of his salary back to Bihar to build a house brick by brick. Across India, entire regions run on this external bloodstream of capital. Nowhere is this more visible than Kerala, a state where migration is so common that locals joke their biggest export isn't spices, but people. Walk through its towns and you'll see Gulf-funded homes, private hospitals, and international schools standing as quiet monuments to money earned thousands of miles away. But the scale of these transfers reveals something deeper than generosity. It reveals infrastructure. Because Indians don't rely only on banks. For centuries, many have trusted a parallel system known as Hawala, an informal network that can move vast sums across continents without a single dollar physically crossing a border. The mechanics are deceptively simple. A worker hands cash to a broker in Dubai. Within hours, his family collects the equivalent from another broker in Mumbai. No wires, no waiting, no formal trail. The brokers settle their balances later through trade deals, credit, or commodities. The entire system runs on one fragile but powerful currency: reputation. If trust collapses, the network collapses. This same social fabric powers diaspora entrepreneurship worldwide, from Canadian trucking fleets financed through community pooling to diamond merchants extending million-dollar credit on little more than a handshake. Economists call this social capital. The diaspora turned it into a global advantage, and remittances are only the visible layer. Beyond the monthly transfers lies an investment pipeline flowing back into India. Real estate purchases in booming cities, government bonds designed for overseas Indians, and startup funding from Silicon Valley veterans returning with capital and expertise. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. India trains talent, talent leaves, wealth accumulates abroad, and then returns amplified. What once looked like brain drain now resembles something far more strategic: brain circulation. Because the Indian diaspora isn't just sending money home, it is quietly exporting India's economic gravity across the world. Walk through Brampton, Jackson Heights, Southall. At first glance, you might forget which country you're standing in. Storefronts glow in Punjabi script. Sweet shops stack laddus beside espresso bars. Temples rise where factories once stood. Bollywood bass lines leak from passing cars while families move between grocery stores that smell unmistakably like Delhi or Chennai. This isn't assimilation. It's transplantation. Indians didn't melt into the Western pot. They quietly built another one. Within a decade of arriving almost anywhere, the pattern repeats itself. Religious centers appear first, temples and gurdwaras that double as community anchors. Then come cultural associations, language schools, business networks, and media ecosystems broadcasting news from back home. Financing often circulates internally, powered by trust rather than institutions. What emerges is not isolation, but infrastructure, a parallel social architecture that allows migrants to succeed without dissolving their identity. But the real transformation is visible in the second generation. Children born in Toronto or London grow up with flawless local accents and degrees from elite universities. In the office, they are indistinguishable from their peers. At home, they slip effortlessly into Hindi or Tamil, celebrate Diwali with the intensity of a national holiday, and navigate family expectations that stretch across oceans. For them, identity isn't a contradiction, it's an expansion. And increasingly, they are leaning toward their heritage, not away from it. Because being Indian no longer signals distance from power. It often signals proximity to it. When figures like Sundar Pichai lead Google and Indian-origin politicians occupy the highest levels of Western governments, heritage becomes an asset rather than a barrier. The numbers reflect this shift. Indian households in the United States earn significantly above the national median. Representation in medicine, engineering, finance, and academia continues to climb. This is no longer a story about fitting in. It is a story about arriving and then reshaping the terrain. The second generation is politically active, culturally confident, and economically embedded. They don't debate whether they belong. They operate as if belonging is already settled. And that quiet confidence is redrawing the cultural map of the West. But demographic gravity never moves without resistance. In cities like Brampton, longtime residents sometimes say the streets no longer feel Canadian. In Silicon Valley, displaced engineers blame visa programs. Across parts of Europe and Australia, immigration debates increasingly orbit around scale. How much change a society can absorb before it begins to feel unfamiliar. This is the paradox of the Indian diaspora. Too successful to frame as victims, too visible to ignore, too economically essential to easily push aside. Look closely at the modern workforce and the dependency becomes clear. Hospitals rely heavily on Indian doctors. Tech ecosystems run on Indian engineers. Logistics networks, franchise economies, and small business corridors frequently trace back to diaspora ownership. Removing that labor wouldn't just disrupt industries, it could fracture them. Yet resentment simmers. Critics argue that tight community hiring resembles gatekeeping. Others question whether strong cultural preservation slows integration. Visa pathways are scrutinized. Student migration sparks political battles. Some of this reaction is rooted in fear, some in economic anxiety, some in genuine concern over social cohesion. History suggests this tension is almost inevitable. Every highly visible migrant success story eventually forces host societies to confront an uncomfortable question. Can national identity stretch without tearing? The Indian diaspora is testing that elasticity in real time. Here is the deeper truth. Indians didn't just migrate, they built a borderless civilization, tied together by culture, capital, and memory. Not through conquest, but through education and relentless ambition, they reshaped economies, corporations, and entire cities. So what is this story? A blueprint for the future, where identity travels without dissolving, or a warning about what happens when a nation exports its talent. Because modern India no longer lives within its geography. It lives wherever its people arrived and built. This is the human map. Subscribe for more stories uncovering the forces quietly redrawing our world. Tell us, model for the future or the start of a borderless world?